Irving, thank you. That was more than generous. I appreciate it. You're right, Irving. There is, in most times when we're together, there's a red light, a yellow light, and a green light. And Rhoda tells me that you're always blowing through the red lights. While pondering the creation of the University of Virginia, Mr. Jefferson wrote a letter, and it's been one of my favorite letters. It has one line in it that I actually believe to the bottom of my heart with one amendment. The letter said, "This institution will be based on the illimitable freedom of the human mind. For here we are not afraid to follow truth wherever it may lead, nor to tolerate any error so long as reason is left free to combat it." And while I embrace the exchange of ideas and the free exchange of ideas, I have to modify Mr. Jefferson's axiom just a little bit in a very important way. Because there are some errors that are so heinous that they cannot and must not be tolerated. And this museum stands as a vivid reminder to all of us that that is true. The general principle expressed by Mr. Jefferson, of course, is sound. And as we all know, the marketplace of ideas is often noisy and messy. But this is not new in America. Although currently the marketplace seems extraordinarily loud and chaotic. But the success of Mr. Jefferson's axiom depends on rational discourse, and such discourse can only occur in a society that values civility. It has been defined in many and varied ways, but two ways that I know of in a much more colloquial sense I like a lot. It's rooted in the idea that a greater common good is preferable to self-centeredness. Simply stated, civility embraces more we and less me. Additionally, it embraces careful listening and much more careful listening than talking. It suggests that not every problem should be approached with an open mouth. An open mind, yes. An open mouth, not so much. For members of the bench and bar, it is not acceptable to blame deteriorating civility in the profession upon general societal behavior, because we are held to a much higher standard. The attorney oath taken by every member of the Virginia State Bar includes a very significant promise. Virginia lawyers pledge to demean themselves with courtesy. Courtesy to the bar, to the bench, to the public, to court personnel, to everyone that you come in contact with, wearing the mantle as a lawyer at the Virginia State Bar. I think it's important to emphasize zealous representation of a client. I actually was very sad when that was removed from the rules of professional conduct. As long as it's tempered, it's a great rule. I've never really been all that too concerned about obstreperous lawyers. We know how to take care of them. It's the timid ones that I'm worried about. But in any event, zealous representation of a client and civility are not mutually exclusive. Justice Kennedy recently addressed this question in a public forum. I'd like to share with you what he said. "Civility is the mark of an accomplished and superb professional, but it is even more than this. It is an end in itself. Civility has deep roots in the idea of respect for the individual. We are civil to each other because we respect one another's human aspiration and equal standing in a democratic society. We must restore civility to every part of our legal system and public discourse. Civility defines our common cause in advancing the rule of law. Freedom may be born in protest, but it survives in civility." I have given speeches on this subject across the nation, and periodically I'll get someone from the audience who will say, "I don't understand that, and I'd like for you to answer this question for me." Lawyers can practice in the courtrooms, and they can practice in transactional areas of the law. What difference does it make if they do it with civility or without civility, as long as they get the job done? Well, I have an answer to that, and I'd like to share it with you. Some of you I know probably come from small towns. If you haven't come from a small town, then certainly you've been in one. And in those towns, there's a lot of doubling up of commerce. The gas station owner actually has a dry cleaners. And the drugstore operator has a heating and air conditioning service that runs out of the back. The little towns, they double up on things. And I'm aware of one town where the veterinarian was also a taxidermist. Now, his card read Dr. Fred Jones, veterinarian / taxidermist. And underneath it said, either way, you get your dog back. Well, that's the answer to the first question. Yes, we could do this. We could practice law, and we could, in the courtrooms of America, in the courtrooms of Virginia, in the offices, in law firms and things of that nature, we could get the job done without being civil. But you know what? Just like the veterinarian, one way you get your dog back and he's alive. The other way, you get your dog back and he's dead. And the same is true with civility in the profession. We have a noble profession. It's worth keeping. It's worth preserving. It's an absolute compliment and a professional courtesy to us and to others in society that we carry a client's cause in their hands. We can either keep this profession noble because it's civil, or we can all watch it die. My hope is that everyone in this room will want to see it thrive. It's a noble profession, but we have to work very hard to keep it that way. I thank you very much for this award.